The modern world has built a massive empire on the promise of health, an industry worth nearly $180 billion that packages wellness into plastic bottles and gelatin shells. Many of us spend a significant portion of our monthly income on these synthetic tablets, often without realizing that our bodies may struggle to recognize or utilize these isolated nutrients. Yet, tucked away in the corners of your kitchen right now are 3 humble ingredients that, when combined with a touch of patience, create a living preparation far more potent than a cabinet full of expensive capsules. It costs pennies to assemble and takes only 5 minutes of your time, but the resulting extraction holds the keys to a traditional protocol that the modern commercial system has largely forgotten. By submerging common botanical elements in a specific solution of honey and vinegar and allowing them to sit for 7 days, you initiate a natural transformation that awakens the plant's true vitality. This process isn't about creating a new drug. It is about reclaiming an ancestral method for supporting our internal systems. The 3 cornerstones of this craft are raw honey, apple cider vinegar containing the mother, and the dried herbs already resting in your spice rack, perhaps turmeric, rosemary, or thyme. While many people see these as mere flavorings, the history of botanical survival tells a different story. In the traditional worldview, plants are locked doors, and our bodies often lack the keys to access the rich compounds stored within their cell walls. When we consume raw herbs, we may only benefit from a fraction of their internal wealth. However, through a process of traditional fermentation, those doors are swung wide open. Historical wisdom suggests that by immersing these herbs in an acidic sweet medium, we significantly enhance the bioavailability of their natural polyphenols, those remarkable plant components known for supporting the body's own antioxidant and soothing responses. This isn't fringe speculation. It is the revival of a methodology used by pioneers and healers for millennia to ensure their preparations were actually absorbed by the body, rather than simply passing through. By the time 7 days have passed, you haven't just made a flavored honey. You have cultivated a living extract that breathes with the vitality of the natural world, proving that traditional wisdom remains a potent tool in our modern survival toolkit. In the quiet archives of traditional botanical lore, there is a recurring theme: the plant is a fortress. Ancestral healers recognized that simply eating a leaf or a root wasn't always enough to capture its spirit. They observed that the human digestive system, while powerful, often struggles to break through the rigid cellulose armor that protects a plant's most valuable compounds. This is why our predecessors didn't just eat herbs, they processed them. They soaked, boiled, and most importantly, they fermented. In modern terms, we talk about bioaccessibility and the breakdown of plant cell walls, but to a pioneer family, this was simply the art of releasing the essence. By placing herbs into a living solution of honey and vinegar, they were initiating a biological key turning. Traditional wisdom suggests that when you submerge these botanicals for 7 days, the solution undergoes a profound shift. Historical observations, now mirrored by contemporary food science, show that this acidic environment acts as a natural solvent. It gently dissolves the barriers that normally limit our access to the plant's internal riches. In traditional preparations of turmeric, for instance, the bioavailability of its protective compounds, what we now call polyphenols, increases dramatically. While the body might only perceive a small fraction of these elements in their raw, dried state, the fermentation process acts like a pre-digestion. Ancient practitioners didn't need laboratory equipment to see that a fermented extract felt more potent and warming to the system than a simple powder. They were witnessing the emergence of a more harmonious relationship between the plant and the person. This traditional protocol does more than just unlock what is already there. It invites nature to create something entirely new. Folklore from various cultures tells of transformative brews where the final liquid possesses a character the original ingredients lacked. We now understand that the active cultures in the honey and vinegar are busy craftsmen. They consume the natural sugars and, in exchange, they manufacture unique metabolites that support our internal balance. This isn't just about preserving herbs for the winter. It's about an alchemical partnership where bacteria and botany collaborate to enhance the human experience. As we look at these jars sitting on our counters, we aren't just looking at a recipe. We are looking at a living heritage of survival and systemic support that that has sustained communities long before the first pharmacy opened its doors. The art of fermenting botanicals is not a modern discovery, but a global heritage that spans every corner of the map, weaving together the collective survival knowledge of our ancestors. Before the rise of the conventional system, communities relied on these living extracts to maintain their vitality through the changing seasons. In the East, Korean traditional practices have utilized fermented herbal preparations known as hanwha for over 2 millennia. These weren't viewed as mere foods, but as concentrated botanical protocols designed to harmonize the body's internal environment. Similarly, the ancient Ayurvedic practitioners of India have been submerging turmeric in raw honey since before written records began. They understood that the sweet medium of honey acted as a carrier, or anupana, which helped the plant's qualities penetrate deeper into the body's tissues, supporting what they called the vital fire. As we move across the globe, we find the Japanese tradition of koso, a sophisticated preparation involving the fermentation of over 50 different seasonal herbs and plants. This enzyme drink has long been prized for its ability to support a diverse and thriving internal ecosystem, which modern research now recognizes as the foundation of overall wellness. In the cold, vast landscapes of rural Russia, families relied on a preparation called sbiten. This was a rich fermented blend of honey, water, and local herbs that served as the primary botanical support for over 800 years. The Spitenschik, or the vendor of this traditional brew, was a staple of every village square until the early 20th century. In 1924, a significant cultural shift occurred as the Soviet government began replacing these traditional village healers and their handcrafted extracts with state-run pharmacies. This transition marked the beginning of an era where localized living remedies were traded for standardized shelf-stable products. This global tapestry reveals that our ancestors across vastly different climates all arrived at the same conclusion: fermentation is the superior method for botanical preservation and potency. These traditions weren't built on laboratory data, but on centuries of trial, error, and observation. They knew that a living extract, pulsating with beneficial bacteria, provided a level of systemic support that no dried powder could ever replicate. By revisiting these lost practices today, we aren't just making a kitchen recipe. We are relinking a broken chain of human knowledge. We are reclaiming a survival skill that was once common sense, ensuring that the wisdom of the Spitenschik and the Ayurvedic sage remains alive in our own homes. To step back into this lineage of self-reliance, one must first gather the tools of the trade. It begins with a simple glass Vasella mason jar, or even a reclaimed jam jar from your pantry. In the tradition of the pioneer kitchen, nothing was wasted, and any clean glass will serve as the cradle for your preparation. The first essential element is raw, unprocessed honey. It is vital to avoid the filtered, pasteurized varieties often found in plastic squeeze bottles, as the heat used in their production strips away the very enzymes and wild yeasts that make this fermentation possible. Sourcing a jar of golden, cloudier honey from a local farmer's market is more than a purchase. It is an investment in the living integrity of your extract. Pour enough to fill the jar about 1/3 of the way, creating a sweet, viscous foundation that will both preserve and transport the botanical essences. Next, we introduce the catalyst, raw apple cider vinegar containing the mother. This cloudy, cobweb-like colony of beneficial bacteria is the heartbeat of the process, a traditional starter culture that has been passed down through generations of home fermenters. 1 tablespoon per cup of honey is all that is required to invite the Acetobacter and Lactobacillus strains into the mix. Then come the herbs. While fresh botanicals are often prized, the ancestral record suggests that dried herbs are superior for this specific method. Their lower moisture content prevents the unwanted growth of mold, ensuring a shelf-stable extract that can last through the winter months. You might choose turmeric and black pepper for their traditional warming qualities, or perhaps oregano and thyme to support seasonal resilience. The ratio is simple: 2 tablespoons of dried botanicals for every cup of honey used. As you add the herbs, use a wooden spoon to push them down until they are fully submerged beneath the liquid. In the language of the old ways, air is the enemy of the brew. Ensuring no plant material is exposed to the surface prevents oxidation and spoilage. Once the herbs are nestled in their honey vinegar bath, cover the jar loosely. A square of clean muslin held with a twine or a lid rested gently on top allows the natural gases of fermentation to escape without inviting dust or pests. Place your jar in a dark cupboard, away from the direct gaze of the sun, and let it rest at room temperature. For the first 3 days, return to your jar once daily to give it a gentle stir. This movement oxygenates the starter and ensures a thorough extraction, beginning the 7-day journey from simple ingredients to a living botanical legacy. As the jar sits in the shadows of your pantry, a silent, microscopic revolution begins to unfold. By day 4 or 5, you will notice the honey begins to lose its thick, sluggish consistency. Becoming more fluid and translucent, tiny bubbles the breath of the fermentation process will rise to the surface, signaling that the starter culture is actively converting the natural sugars into lactic acid. This shift is a fundamental transformation of the environment within the glass. As the pH drops below 4.0, the jar becomes a sanctuary where only the most beneficial life forms can flourish, effectively shielding the preparation from unwanted elements. This is the critical extraction phase. In the traditional view, the acetic acid from the vinegar acts as a gentle key, unlocking the stubborn cellulose walls of the dried herbs to release the hidden oils, terpenes, and flavonoids that would otherwise remain trapped and unabsorbed by the body. The resulting liquid is known by a name that echoes through the halls of history, an oxymel. Derived from the ancient Greek words oxy for acid and mel for honey, this preparation has been documented in survival and wellness texts for over 2 millennia. Hippocrates, a figure often celebrated in the history of the conventional system, wrote extensively about these fermented honey and vinegar blends as far back as 400 BC. In his records, he described them as vital tools for supporting respiratory wellness and maintaining digestive harmony, particularly during the damp and taxing winter months. This was not a fringe recipe. It was a cornerstone of human vitality for 24 centuries, utilized by those who lived in close conversation with the natural world. The Roman army, famous for its endurance, carried fermented honey preparations on long campaigns across rugged terrain, utilizing them as both a source of concentrated energy and a way to support the body's natural defenses against the elements. Centuries later, medieval European monasteries, which served as the primary centers of botanical knowledge, maintained dedicated oxymel cellars. These monks acted as the keepers of the green world, brewing vast quantities of these extracts to support the local community's resilience. They understood something that the modern world is only now rediscovering, that the most effective way to support the human system is through a living, symbiotic preparation that respects the complexity of the plant and the needs of the body. By the 7th day, your jar has become a bridge to this ancient lineage, ready to serve as a cornerstone of your own home-based botanical protocol. In the final stage of our journey back to traditional botanical wisdom, we must understand the unique synergy occurring within your jar concept. Modern science is only recently labeling as a symbiotic. This is not a complex laboratory term, but a description of a living partnership that our ancestors understood intuitively. The raw honey serves as a prebiotic, a nourishing fuel source, while the active cultures from the vinegar mother act as the probiotic life force. When these two arrive in your system together, they do so as a unified team, already acclimated to an acidic environment. This is a crucial distinction from the modern commercial alternative. When you purchase a standard probiotic capsule, you are often buying bacteria that were cultivated in a sterile laboratory, freeze-dried into a dormant state, and sealed in a synthetic shell. By the time those isolated cultures reach your internal ecosystem, studies suggest that many may no longer be active, facing a harsh environment for which they have not been prepared. The bacteria in your home-crafted Oxymel, however, are vibrantly alive and actively metabolizing. They have already survived the natural acidity of the honey vinegar medium, which mirrors the environment they will encounter within the body. Traditional lore suggests that this living quality is what allows the preparation to offer such profound systemic support, helping to maintain a flourishing internal landscape. Instead of a static tablet, you are consuming a thriving colony that arrives alongside the very botanical compounds it has already begun to transform. Historical use suggests that just 1 tablespoon a day, whether taken straight or integrated into your daily routine, all that is needed to support your natural vitality and promote a diverse microbiome. As we look at the massive global industry that has built itself on the isolation of these natural wonders, we can choose a different path. We can recognize that the most sophisticated technology for supporting human wellness isn't found in a pill press, but in the patient work of beneficial bacteria over the course of 7 days. This protocol requires no refrigeration, no specialized expertise, and costs mere pennies compared to shelf-stable supplements. Each jar you create is a small act of reclaiming personal sovereignty and reconnecting with the survival skills of those who came before us. The science is accessible, the history is thousands of years old, and the tools are already in your kitchen. The only thing left to do is to begin